My name is Tyler Marcotte. I'm part of the technical marketing engineering team here at Extreme Networks. I'm based out of our Salem, New Hampshire office. I'm lucky enough to get the last breakout session of the day. So thank you for joining channel 4, the demo channel. I'm happy to have you here. I'm looking forward to talking to you about what's new in the latest version of XMC, also known as version 8.5. So with me, I have moderating Ken Jones. You may have just heard him in the previous breakout session, so hopefully he's not too tired to feed me some questions. But as you have questions, please feed them into chat. Any that we don't get to, as always with all the other demo sessions, they'll be available on the hub after the fact. So with that, let me talk to you about some of the new features that are in XMC with 8.5. So we have quite a few new features, as with every new release. I'm going to be talking and providing a demonstration on one of the really kind of cool new features that I really like, which is really about a new style of policy. If for anyone that's ever met me before, I've been with Extreme for like 13 years. It's been a while, so I'm really familiar with policy. I'm really excited about this new feature. And what it does is it really takes us to our next evolution, which I'm going to kind of talk to you about a little bit. There are additional new features that I want to talk to about if we have time as well, which are the extra visualization of the port extenders, new application telemetry support, some new UI features. Basically, you kind of see the list here. I'm going to kind of show you where to find these new features and where to get more information on them as well as we go through it. So let me kind of get going with the main one that I wanted to talk about, which is this ACL style policy. So what is it? If you're familiar with Extreme policies today, they've been around for a very long time. They are typically based on a precedence level, is really what it comes down to. What we're doing is we're kind of evolving it, making them a little more flexible, making it so you can increase your security a little more at the edge and make them a little more dynamic to make it so you can use them the way that you need to. Now, the cool thing is that even though they're new, they can coexist with your existing policy infrastructure so that you can start dabbling a little bit as you start playing with it. And a key important thing to keep in mind here with the new style is, obviously it's called ACL style. And because of that, we're going with a more standards-based formatting that you may have ever seen on the Switch UI, for from what policies may look like from a config level. And as you can see, is this IETF standardized model. So what are the differences? What is this new ACL mode? Well, let's compare it to this, you probably never heard the term hierarchical mode before, because we basically had to say, hey, this is what this is actually called now that we're going to this new style. But the traditional precedence-based mode of policy we're calling hierarchical mode. And this is your standard filtering-based rule where you have certain individual single traffic descriptors go and define your policy rule. With the ACL mode, you can still use those standard filtering rules, but we also have the ability to go and use at the same time this access control entry, or an ACE, to be able to go and add extra flexibility in that descriptor. The benefit here is that you're able to use 5 different traffic descriptors per access control entry. This is supported in XOS version 30.5 and newer, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of this as we move on here at Extreme. One of the main things I want to keep in mind with is that for both hierarchical and ACL mode policies, you're still getting layer 2 through 7 traffic descriptors they can use. They're still acting the same way that policy has always acted, in the sense that you still have your roles, they're going to be grouped, and you're going to have your rules that are grouped into services. So you still have that 3-tier policy structure that you're still used to and familiar with. So let's get into the live demo. You guys weren't here to see me do a slide. So as with all live demos, it's live. So bear with me. Hopefully this goes well. So what you should be seeing now is this is Extreme Management Center. And guess what? I'm on version 8.5. What we have running in here is basically I have a client connected behind here that is a contractor. So as you know, this is if you're used to policy, this is where you're going to be configuring policy, your roles, rules, services, all those pieces. So first question I have for you is, well, this new ACL style policy, how do I go and enable it? Well, that's actually pretty easy. Under this global domain settings, there's this new button here called Role ACL Mode. It tells you exactly what it's going to do for version 30.5 or newer XOS style roles, switches, excuse me. it's going to go and basically change the formatting of the rules and enable the style on the switch itself. And I'm going to show you at the end kind of what that looks like from a non-ACL mode exhaust switch and an ACL mode exhaust switch. Let's dig a little deeper into kind of what's actually going on. For the standard policy level, we have the contractor role that is applied to this client that I have down here. And you'll see that, I still have my standard, I can get to Extreme Networks, I can get to Extreme Connect, the same portal that you guys went to go and register for this conference. But since I'm a contractor at this point, when we looked at it, you saw that my base level was a permit all, right? So that allowed me to go and get to anything I wanted to in here, including some of my switches, my web UI, so I can go and log in. Additionally, I can go in, for instance, go in SSH to my switch here. And I can actually go and get into my exhaust switch that I'm currently trying to access. So it happens to also be the same switch I'm connected to as well. So what do I want to do if I want to go and start applying more restrictions? Well, if we go back to our policy here, you'll see that I have my standard permit here. I also have a couple rules in here. I have my deny Dropbox, which is layer 7 rule. I have, and then I have this other service I have configured within here called Contractor Access Supplemental. These have some rules in here that are currently disabled. You notice two different things within here. One is that you have this, well, first let me go enable these so you can kind of see what it looks like as they're enabled. We select them both and select enable. And you see that I have two in here. One that is deny switch access, which is a standard access control entry. So if I go and look at here, the traffic descriptor, you see that I have a single value within here. It's like your standard rule to go and basically permit or deny that specific traffic. If I go and look at the rule itself, that's all it's doing. That IP address, deny traffic, IP address destination, that's it. I have this new rule in here as well, this blue one. And this is what this is actually the access control entry. If I look at it in here, you see that I have multiple traffic descriptions within here. It's going to allow me, basically, it's going to match my IP address source of my client. And it's also going to be matching port 443 on this client as well. And that is allowing that access. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is you notice over here on this right side, this rule order. This rule order is, guess what? It's that precedence order. We don't have that standard hierarchical precedence. This is now a adjustable rule order that you can go and apply. So now that I've gone and applied, I've enabled these rules, let me go and enforce this out to my switch. And we're going to basically, if you notice that 1085.917, that's that same device that I was trying to access before. Assuming demos go right, as with all live demos, it might not. Cross my finger here, work with me, right? We're going to go and see, well, do I still have access to the switch? So I don't. All right, let me try to even duplicate my session. This is going to time out. Guess what? My policy is now timing out. I can't get to this. If I try to go to anywhere else, I try and go to my Extreme Connect again. All right, great, I can get there. Can I get back to my interface? No, I can't. So guess what? It did exactly what it's supposed to. So the demo gods are working for me today. That's great. So what do I want to go and adjust this? Well, say, hey, Tyler, can you go prove this to me? Guess what, Tyler, I can. And yes, Tyler, I like talking to myself, apparently. So I'm going to go and actually adjust this. You see that there's a move up and down rule here. Notice the rule order. I'm going to go and adjust this. And you see the rule order is now changed so that I have my HTTPS access to my switch allowed only, right? So now let me go and reinforce this again. I'm going to go reinforce my rule. Again, the same type of enforces that we've used on exhaust and policy capable devices for a long time. Same type of methods that are going out here. If I go over to my client now, you'll see, all right, let me try and close this out again. Let me see if I can get back to Cortex 1. It's not working. I wonder why. Well, if you notice, I'm actually trying to get to HTTP. If you remember from my rule, what happens if I try to go to HTTPS? There you go. You know what? So it's specifically going and matching a specific HTTPS traffic there. So yet again, proving that I cannot get to my switch except for the ports that I'm allowing to based on my specific rules. And as long as everything is working correctly, then you'll see that these sessions actually timed out and I still cannot get to it from SSH. All right, so that's still timing out. So great, my policy rules are working. So that kind of shows you how the function's actually working. This is showing the dynamic reorganization of those rules. Now let's go back and what did this actually do to my client? So what did this actually do to my switches? I have two different switches open here. as you notice, this is the same switch I've been working on. If I go and look at show config policy on this, which is now we're going to look at see what the new style looks like. And you'll notice over here, there's two pieces I want to point out. I scroll up to the top, I have quite a few policy roles in here. The first thing on this list when we're looking at policy is configure policy rule model access list. What that did is this completely changed the mode for the switch of how to use policy. So you'll notice that you see all these entries for create policy access list and then the entries that are within here. Even those standard hierarchical policies that were defined in there are converted on the fly into access control entries. So you see, for instance, the deny Dropbox one, which is that standard one that was in there. And then you see the deny switch access, and then also that VIP access to HTTPS. Notice how they're ordered correctly based on the order that I had them within policy. So what I can do so how's this compared to what the standard, traditional policy is? Well, if we go and look here, I don't necessarily have the exact policies in there, but you'll see that this is what our standard hierarchical policy looks like. You'll see that I have the profile 14 of contractor created, and then I'm going to go and have for that for those rules, the drop Dropbox, basically the app signatures. This is what the standard one looks like. So those are kind of the main features I want to show you from the ACL style policy. So again, this is available on 30.5 and newer using using XMC version 8.5. I highly recommend you guys start playing around with it. Try it. It's not gonna. You can use them in tandem with your existing policies. So that's the main feature I wanted to show. So I'm going to ask Ken: are there any questions that that came in so far?
Absolutely. You tried to sneak a couple of things by, apparently, and there's some questions that came up. So first question was, I saw that there were some application rules on the contractor profile. You thought you sneaked that thing by. Can XOS apply layer 7 rules now?
So great question. And yes, it can. So this was actually available pre 8.5. This, I believe, got introduced in 30.4 or 30.5. I can't remember exactly which one. So if you're familiar with configuring policy for our wireless controllers, if you have used it before to go and say, exactly like we saw before, right? I want to go and deny or allow Dropbox, things like that. You could do this previously on our wireless controllers too. And it's a layer 7 capable, it's been great. It works. It's just like you would expect any application detection to work on an AP. Well, we brought that functionality into our switches as well. So what we can do is we took that layer 7 capability, that DPI engine, being able to go and recognize our groups and our applications themselves. If we go and look at here, you'll see that I have application groups. These might look familiar. These are the same things that we have in our APs, and the same things we also have in application analytics for different application groups that can go within there, and then also the application descriptors. One thing I'm going to point out, and I always like to point out with application rules, and this is the same thing that would happen with policy, right? Is it's absolutely going to define what happens, how layer 7 actually works. So you don't know about layer 7, what application is actually being used until you have some information about it more than the just initial PCB SYN, right? You need to know, what's actually going on. Am I going Dropbox? Am I actually going to a iCloud? What type of storage am I using? So there's always going to be some level of leaky packet that I always like to tell people to know. So if you're doing a specific allow statement, for instance, like I only want to allow Dropbox, but I want to drop all other web traffic, it's probably not going to work because you need to be able to get that initial level of application detection in there so you can detect, hey, this is Dropbox, I should be dropping this. So if you are playing with it and want to try it out, I highly encourage you to, but just keep in mind that it's going to require that you might get, for instance, might be able to get to Dropbox.com to start. Then Dropbox actually is not going to work. It's going to, hey, this is actually Dropbox traffic. Start dropping it. So I highly recommend go try it out, play with it. It's in XOS, and you can use it just like you would with a wireless controller at that point. Next question, Ken. Are there any more, or is it just is everyone tired?
There are more. I think. Well, I think we'll be able to have some questions as we go along. So,
all right.
Somebody says in our production environment, there are some end systems that have the device family and device fields blank. Is there anything that we can do to fix that situation?
So there's two pieces I generally tell you to go to for here. So the first one is the most common thing that I always tell people. So I've been working on extreme control for a very long time. With that, people are used to going and seeing the device types in there, looking for device families they're showing up. And on its initial deployments, especially, the most common thing to happen is say, oh, awesome, I get to go and see the MAC address and I see the username and the port and the switch. Where's all the other information? So the first thing I always tell people to go to, just your standard kind of troubleshooting thing, check to see if you set up your DHCP relay servers, right? On XOS, if you're using that for routing, it's called BootP relay, IP helper addresses, all the same thing. You need to be getting a copy of that DHCP request for the majority of at least kicking off that detection mechanism. Now, if you already, one of the features we added in 8.5 actually, it was in the Java UI and it was kind of hidden below previously. It's kind of hard to get to. But if you have 8.5 and you're not seeing a device family or device type for new devices, it's possible that either we haven't gotten a new fingerprint or it's a very new device. So what we actually brought in is the ability for you to go and create your own DHCP fingerprints within here. And that's actually under this administration tab under device types. We created a UI to go and basically create these fingerprints in addition to go and look at the fingerprints we already have within here. So for instance, if I'm going to go and let's look at, we probably have some Canadian friends. Let's look at the BlackBerry. This is an example of what a BlackBerry DHCP fingerprint would look like, right? So you could go and create your own within here with your standard DHCP, sniffing tools, the Wireshark and whatnot. Be able to go and fill in your profile. Now, once you go and create it, this is always my recommendation to every single customer. If you go and create a custom device type or for detection and profiling within here, please let GTAC know. They are going to be your best friends. The reason I say that is because you don't want to have to maintain your own database of these custom devices over time. You can see, things I've created over time. We've upgraded the system for a long time. You see, like, I went and created some, Ken, you created some over here as well over time. And basically, you don't want to have to go and maintain all these yourself. So go and open a case with GTAC. Let them know, hey, I wasn't able to detect this device, but here's my fingerprint if you guys want to look at it. That way, during new updates, if you ever want to reinstall or do a fresh thing, some people have had their installs for 5-10 years. Every once in a while it's not bad and people want to go and convert. You don't have to worry about that maintain. Let us handle that part. But this gives you the easy UI to go and get yourself going, so you don't have to wait for an update or wait for a patch or anything like that. Get you going for the day. Ken, any more?
Absolutely. Let me just take myself off of mute. Make sure you can hear me.
All right, I can hear you.
Okay, so another one that came up. I'm kind of like picking them out here because of things that I know you should probably talk about. So I'm using the V400 port extender, but I can see, but I can't see it in XMC unless I go into the switch. Someone told me it should be supported at some point. Any idea when this will happen?
So yes, so you've actually been able to see it for a device type from a basically a slot level for a little while. But what I will say is that in 8.5, we added visualization for that, as well as being able to support ring topologies for the Bridgeport extenders as well. So I'm going to actually bring you down to my demo system here. I actually have, you see over here, these are actually our edge switches that we have connected. These are V400s. In addition to this, I can't remember which version this was added in, but basically we have a filter within here for extended bridges as well. So you can go and highlight where you have the Bridgeport extenders enabled and see what's actually tied in within there. Here I just have the daisy chain model. So you're seeing one Bridgeport extender connected and then another one connected below that. We do support the ring topology as well. I just don't have that available from a demo. And that was, I believe, added new in 8.5. What you should be able to see within here when you go into device view, and this is something you should have been able to see for a little while, is you can see your standard ports on, for instance, X590 here. And then you see your actual Bridgeport extender ports, slot 100, and then, for instance, slot 101. This is where you're going to start seeing all of your extra Bridgeport extenders. So you should be able to see these all here, manage them through XMC. And the key is really get that visualization. If people aren't using topology maps within here, I so recommend it. It works really well. It gives you dynamic links, tells you when things are up or down. Just talk about live demos. Just earlier today, we had a yellow link and like, hey, what happened? People were doing live demos and made a change they weren't supposed to make, and it turned to yellow. We realized, hey, we have a degraded link here, and we had to go and fix it kind of mid-show. So live demos, love them. So happy this part's working so far. All right, next up, Ken, you said you had a bunch, I think.
Sure, I do. Here's one that we should probably cover. Is there a support matrix of what devices are supported in XMC?
So yes. So it's easy to find too, actually. Believe it or not, this has been a really common request. Especially over the acquisitions over the last few years, we've added a lot into our device families, on device supported devices. And XMC, we're going in managing those devices, and we want to see how much we can go and do. So this is the easiest way to get to it when we update it for every single major release. You're going to go to emc.extremenetworks.com. This is the main documentation website, the live web interface for documentation for Extreme Management Center. So in here, you're going to see your release notes, and guess what? If you scroll down here, hey, look, these are a lot of the new features in 8.5 that I'm talking about right now. Under release notes, though, over here, feature firmware support, you're going to see, look, all the versions of what's been supported over time. If I go to 8.5, you're going to go and see basically a filtering criterion here about which devices are supported for what feature, and the tested firmware version that our SQA group tested it on. It's as with all kind of managed devices, it's expecting SNMP communication. It's expecting CLI credentials for either read write, depending on what the features are. And as always, as it's defined, XMC supports up to 10,000 managed devices as well. So feel free to peruse through here. It's searchable. So for instance, I know there's multiple things like analytics, what can support it for, inventory backups, which devices are support for backups. So it's searchable, filterable for all the different device types that we have within here.
Okay, a related question. In that search field, go back over to that search field if you can, and click on ERS and then type in search field telemetry. Because the question is, when will ERS be supported in Extreme Analytics? Because I didn't get to cover it during the course of mine. So there it is, just to let you know. Basically, the ERS 4900 and 5900. All
right, so what you're saying is I'm helping you right now. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to one of the questions that I didn't get to. So.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So that was a big update with 8.5. Is that so we did add application telemetry support for Extreme Analytics. So if you're using analytics today, you're using application telemetry with either VSP or with Exos, then you can go and add it as another telemetry source. Just the same way that application telemetry works with Exos and VSP, it's going to be getting the S flow as well as that that telemetry feed over the ER-span tunnel to go and give you all the important data for from what's happening from application level, so that analytics can compute it, use it, and do as you wish with it.
Okay, just to let you know, you have a whopping 6 minutes left of time, unless they cut us off a little early. And the next question is, can I install XMC on Windows?
All right. So the quick answer on this one is, with 8.5, we deprecated support for native Windows install. My personal opinion is I'm so happy about that. XMC has been supported with Windows for a very long time, but we've been adding more and more and more and more over time. And as much as we all love Windows, there are certain scaling things that just don't work well for a supportability thing over a long period of time. We've been warning a lot of people about dropping Windows support for a while. And so with 8.5, Windows native support is dropped. So you need to be on one of the supported Linux distributions or on one of the virtual appliances or hardware appliances. So that's that. Like, personal opinion is I'm really happy about it. Just it's supportability side of the house. But I'm also a Linux person too, so that also helps too. So I think we're probably close to the end of time. So let me go and just reiterate one more time. Any questions we didn't get to, please feel free to go and look at the community.extremenetworks.com, the hub. You'll be able to see any missed questions or that we didn't get to. So other than that, thank you very much for your time, and hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.